I committed a treasonable offense, and I'm in Onitsha, and my minister went to announce it in Washington. This is what I'm talking about. We're not talking about waste in governance here. People don't want to understand. The amount it costs Nigeria for him to go and announce that in Washington can fix, I can tell you, I've been in government, can build a block of 6 classrooms in a primary school.
Now, Peter Obi is being a comedian here. I guess he's almost, he's trying to hold back the laughter, Treason is serious. You don't just throw treason allegation like that, I can understand why, he's getting a bit comical about it, What's up, my Naija people? How that day? Now today, it's going to be commentary all the way. Now, Peter Obi had this interview with Arise TV. It's the much awaited interview. You know that after the presidential election and the eventual announcement of results, Peter Obi did one interview, same Arise TV, but a couple of events happened, a couple of developments came up, and he's not really had the opportunity to address all of them. You had the Wole Soyinka situation, you had Chimamanda also coming up to speak, and 2 other developments that I think is even more significant. I'm actually referring to the Bishop Oyedipo audio leak, that conversation with Bishop Oyedipo of the Winners Chapel, and the purported detention at the Heathrow Airport in London. And it was on the Arise TV prime time, and it's always an interesting time with Charles Anyangulu on prime time and Peter Obi. They really did have a wonderful conversation. A lot of salient issues addressed, and we're going to be looking at them one after the other as I do my commentary. So in this interview, he addressed all of those issues, and I tell you, this is packed, and I really would love you to stay with me. Let's go through it together. Yeah, you probably have not seen the interview, maybe you've even seen it, but it's still good for you to stay here because we're going to be having a wonderful time on the commentary. So let's get into it right away. We're going to start right from the very intro by Charles Anyangulu. Let's see how well and how far we can go. And please, if you're new to the channel, I'd love you to subscribe. It's a special appeal. Subscribe so you can get to see more of my videos, and this video will also get to be suggested when you subscribe, like, and comment. Do comment. I know that you have thoughts to share. This is supposed to be a conversation. Please do share your thoughts in the comment section. And I want to especially also thank all of my subscribers and those of you who've been giving me all of the support. I really, really thank you. You guys should be sending me some offering. Come on, send some donations. We need to take this project to the next level. We need to get some gadgets. We need to improve on the production, and a couple of monies, being spent here to get the channel running. It will be really, really, really appreciated if you can also reach out and do some kind of donation. I'm going to be putting my details in the description going forward. I would really appreciate if you can support in way of donation. Maybe you want to also contribute materials. You may want to ask, how can I support with materials? I can probably tell you, the much that will be needed to improve on what I am doing here. Thank you very much. And you know that we need to support each other to grow. We need to support each other to get better. And so whatever you can do will be much appreciated. Thank you very much, my Naija people. So let's get into this wonderful interview right away.
The saga of Nigeria's 2023 presidential election. For the opposition Labour Party and its leader, Peter Obi, it's a tragic affront to democracy, an electoral earthquake that crumbled their hopes, shaking the faith they had that the election would be the turning point that would change the course of Nigeria. Well, the winter winds may be howling for them, but for the president-elect Bola Tinubu, his APC party and their supporters, it'll take more than that to dampen their spirits as Inauguration Day draws near. For them, it's a legitimate ballot that culminated in victory for Mr. Tinubu, never mind the fact that that victory is dogged by major national and international concerns about legitimacy, and by the APC's legacy of expanding insecurity, growing poverty, rising unemployment, an inflation rate that has ballooned in the last few years, and a currency that has plunged in value, giving way to much harder times, especially for those those on low incomes. So, as the rival sides step up their preparations for the legal conflict ahead, and the courts become the new front line of their quest for legitimacy, where does Nigeria's hottest political issue go from here? I'll be joined in the studio by one of the leading combatants, Mr. Peter Obi, presidential candidate of the Labour Party. I'm Charles Anyegolu.
Now, I had to let you see all of that, the intro, because, Charles Anyegolu, has a way of dishing out this intro. That was some masterpiece. I must tell you, it's always giving masterpieces when it comes to intros. You can literally sit back, in your couch and just get popcorn and actually feel like you're seeing a movie. Like, it's awesome. His intros are awesome. He should be winning awards actually for just those intros that he does. And kudos, Mr. Charles Anyegolu. I think you're the best. You're the best when it comes to doing this in the nation. And I really want to just say that nobody does it better than Charles Anyegolu, and it needs to be said. Okay, so let's get into the main interview, the main conversation. Now, in the intro, Mr. Charles Anyegolu has placed it properly. What happened in the presidential election was one of a dashed hope. You would think that it was going to be the beginning of a new dawn, as it is often said. But it didn't happen. And I continue to say this. Now, I supported Peter Obi in the elections, and it was after a careful analysis and appreciation of all of the three major contenders, and I thought that Peter Obi was the man that Nigeria really should have at this point of our existence. And it is not about the fact that Peter Obi didn't win, or that the candidate that I voted for didn't win. No. It is the fact that the process fell short of best practice, at least minimum standards. Looking at all of the effort that went into that process, let's not even talk about the resources, the monies. It's not acceptable to have that. So that's the issue. It is that the process fell short of standards. So it's not really about somebody didn't win or one other person won. No, it is that the process fell short of standards. So let's just get into the main conversation and let's see how much of it we can take. And Peter Obi is looking really sharp here, looking really sharp and clean. And don't tell me you're not noticing this really wonderful shiny green clothes and his quintessential attire anyways, looking always sharp and simple. I'm not blowing his trumpet anyways. So he's looking really relaxed. He's not looking tensed at all. He's not looking stressed. He's looking really good. Looking at the months that he's been through, all of the campaigns, he's had a really long campaign. It basically started way before the other candidates even started. He's been on TV, he's been moving around and seeing how the elections went, an election that is largely believed to have won. And INEC has now announced a different winner, although this is a subject of litigation. I think I must commend Peter Obi how he's handling the whole situation. I'm particularly very, very excited to see his disposition. He's not looking tensed, he's not looking stressed at all, and I think he's handling it well, like a true leader that he's said to be.
Thank you, Mr. Charles, for inviting me.
And we know you've had a long day, because I saw you on the television at the Labor Day, the May Day celebrations earlier today, and you've gone from one meeting to the other, so we really appreciate your taking the time to talk to us. I like that. Now, there have been a lot of reactions trailing your apparent arrest in London by the British authorities. Some have said that you were being witch hunted by the APC, others that a petition was sent against you, and still others that you were being impersonated. Can you tell us the circumstances of your purported apprehension in London and what has happened subsequently, and sort of clear the air on that? Did you commit an offense for which you were being stopped?
Thank you, Charles. One is, I was never arrested. I was never detained. And I did not commit any offense. I was stopped for a routine immigration check because there appears to be a duplication of my identity. And all this lasted for maximum of 20 minutes. And I was treated in what I do with all due respect. Charles, I lived in the UK in the 90s, say from 1993 until 2000 2005.
I remember meeting you in London, actually, in that period.
Yes. Charles, not just that I lived there, from that 1993 to now is a period of 30 years. I have never been questioned, arrested, detained in any country in the world. I've never been, for any reason, found myself in any manner being questioned for any offense. I've not committed any offense. So it was a routine immigration check.
One thing that really sets Peter Obi apart from his contemporaries, his opponents, it's the contemporary politician, is the way he makes categorical statements about his integrity. That is what really, really interests me about the man Peter Obi. He's not careful to make very categorical statements about his integrity as it has to do with his track record, his history, his dealings. His opponents can't do that. They don't have that luxury. I guess that's what makes him thick. I guess that's what also makes him a real threat to opponents. And it can be a lot of headache when the average Nigerian politician is having to deal with an opponent who you really cannot hold anything against. I told a friend some years ago, and we've been having that conversation. I think we've had that conversation repeatedly. I said, Atiku, with all due respect to him, I respect him a lot. He had his chance in 2019. I really do not think that Atiku Abubakar may have a decent chance to becoming president as close as he had in 2019. I actually do think he won that election. Well, eventually the court said he didn't, but I actually do think that he won the election. If actual votes are to be counted, a lot happened in that election. But you see, that is past now. He went to court, but I also think that why Atiku's situation is different from Obi now is that Atiku really could not press. Atiku could not go all the way. There are things that beyond just going to court, there are things that go with having to contest a presidential election results in courts. It appeared that Atiku played safe, exercised some restraint and didn't want to pull some string. He didn't want to put pressure on the system that seemed to have robbed him. I can tell that they probably will just dangle one paper at Atiku and Atiku will have to hold back. He's been in government and a lot of accusations have come up over the years. His role as head of economy, being vice president under Olusegun Obasanjo. There's been accusations of some, dealings and all of that. So I don't want to go in detail. That's not the subject of the video today. So I want to assume that you get what I'm trying to say here. So, and that's what makes Peter Obi really different. Now, this man has been in government, he's been governor. That's almost the highest level. Anything outside that is the presidency. The president. He's been there. And it appears that the records are clean. Nobody has really been able to come up. This election was tough. It was tense. The rivalry was strong. If there was actually anything serious, come on, that they will bring it up. So when Peter Obi is able to make statements, categorical statements about his integrity, and then the quintessential go and verify will follow, that is something huge. That's an asset. And that's why I really so desire that a man like this would occupy the very top office of the land. We need it at this point of our history. We need it at this point of our development. We need it at this point of our existence. Nigeria needs a man whose yes is yes and no is no, who has the track record of integrity. I'm not talking about the Buhari type of integrity, with all due respect to Mr. President. I didn't mean that as I mean, so I didn't want to throw shades, but you see, we had a president who sang and projected himself for years, that he was a Mr. Integrity. He was actually the poster boy, the integrity poster boy. We talk about integrity back in the days. Muhammad Buhari's face actually comes to mind, but you see, when he had the opportunity to deliver, he's largely failed woefully. With all due respect to him, he's largely failed woefully. Seeing the most that happened in the President Jonathan administration, you would think that it can't get worse. But if we want to be sincere with ourselves, that the level of corruption that has happened under the President Muhammad Buhari administration, under the very watch of President Muhammad Buhari, is nothing compared to what happened under Goodluck Jonathan. That is the fact, except we want to deceive ourselves. The records are there. You see the much that has been borrowed. How much can we really show for all of that? You see the high level irresponsibility in public officers directly serving under him, and he's largely not been able to do anything about them. That is where Peter Obi is thick, and that's where we think that a man like Peter Obi really should occupy the office of the president of Nigeria. We need it. We need it. We need a man who truly has integrity. We need that man at the top, because I know that there's a way leadership influence a process, a system. If we have a man who doesn't steal up there, it will trickle down. If we have a man who respects the rule of law up there, it will trickle down. That's the way it works. That's the way society develops. That's how nations become great. It takes one man who is ready to sacrifice and say, you know what, the resource of the people must work for the people. So let's get back into the conversation.
So it was a routine immigration check, and it lasted, like I said, less than 20 minutes, and I was actually given all the due respect by the border personality that interviewed me, who told me, your identity is duplicated, be careful, and actually had to walk me through what I can call the VIP process and everything. And I have a written document from British government.
I've seen that document.
Thank you. I showed it to you.
Clarifying the
that
situation.
He was never detained, and it was just a few minutes question and everything. And they were Nigerians, because I arrived on British Airways. So they were Nigerians who were queuing up. Even Woods here was even worried that I was asked to just wait for a few minutes. And when that happened, I explained it to them, and they said nothing. But it's been traumatized and everything, because it's me. People said I was detained, committed an offense. People said even committed several offenses and everything. Oh, his company was closed. He wasn't paying tax.
Yeah, I know that when this issue was trending, it appeared that the opponents really saw it as something to hold. But I always knew that this was going to be nothing. Peter Obi is the kind of man you can literally go to sleep and say, you know what, when it comes to integrity, he's not going to fall. I always knew that it was going to be that. I always knew that people in Peter Obi's circles had said that the British authorities did apologize. I remember vividly when Omokri had come out to counter that, stating that it was not in the character of the British immigration authorities to do that, and that he didn't think that was true. But we now know that it is actually true. The British authority did apologize, and Peter Obi actually didn't bother to even make that public. He just thought it was no big deal, So while opponents and we are busy trying to use that as something to hold, and I even saw a couple of tweets by Festus Keyam, where he was literally mocking and throwing jibes at Peter Obi over the issue with the British authorities at the Heathrow Airport. So now you know that it was really not more than. Now you know that it's really not so much. It was just, like you said, the routine checks. And I think we should even thank the British authorities for doing a good job. It was good that they actually detected that identity duplication. And as you're going to hear Peter Obi say, there's no way that is going to happen without the authorities here being complicit. How did anyone duplicate the identity of such an important person, a VIP, and the Nigerian authorities did not get to know that? So it's like some persons had insinuated early on, it's going to be difficult to exonerate the Nigerian authorities in all of this. I know that Daniel Bwala, the PDP and Atiku spokesman, had also said this when this was trending, that Peter Obi should sue the Nigerian authorities, and that it is true that his identity had been duplicated, then the Nigerian authorities must be involved in one way or the other. So let's just get back.
For the years I lived in Britain, never have I had any day been questioned. And I can say it, my taxes, my days were duly paid. In fact, most times they have refunded me money for overpayment. I've borrowed money, I've done everything globally. Not one day did I default in any. If you find one default, then it's not Peter Obi.
Wow. It is the way he makes those statements that baffle. Like it's so interesting, so exciting. I guess not so exciting for opponents and naysayers. if you have a man like this as your president, like, it's so fulfilling. It's a proud thing. When you see a man making bold statements about his past, that's transparency. That's integrity. I don't know how Peter Obi has been able to maintain this level of integrity, saying that he's been in business and even in government. He was a governor of a Nigerian state, and he can come on public domain and, national TV and make such statements. And this is true. He's been doing this for years. Even if we have to reduce it to the 2023 presidential election, he's been making bold statements. He was one of the very first, to start his campaign. He's been on TV, even before the primaries, even before he left the PDP. He's been on TV. He's been making really, really bold statements, and he's been putting himself on the line. And nobody has really been able to take him on all of those claims. I think we really must give Peter Obi. Come on, let's give him a clap. Let's give him a clap. He does deserve a resounding applaud. He does deserve a resounding applaud. He does. We need to give credit to whom credit is due.
Well, I'm glad you clarified that point about the arrest. And in support of the point you're making, I have seen the letter from the British High Commission making it ineluctably clear that it was no such thing. Nevertheless, as you said, there was a huge hullabaloo about that in Nigeria. I mean, was that a humiliation for you, or at the very least embarrassing that all this was being talked about you, and I mean, even the people who follow you were disappointed?
Charles, I would have made comment on it earlier, but these things happened during what I call holy month, where for me as a Christian, it was the fasting period and period of the Ramadan. And I felt it is not time to make comments. I only answered one question within that period when I was mentioned with treason, because I felt it's a huge offense. And because it was actually mentioned where it shouldn't have been mentioned. Other than that, I just felt this is the clarification. And I've just shown you the letter.
Yes.
I won't go about telling everybody and showing everybody the letter.
Yeah, that is true.
It just showed you where we've taken our rascality to where people now come up with all sorts of things.
Well, some people said you were deported from the UK. but obviously not.
No, they saw it. I was routine check and I was allowed to go. They even saw where I attended churches and meetings and everything. But that's where we have reached.
But I mean, what sort of questions did they ask you when they took you in?
Nothing. I was there. Nobody took me to anywhere.
Right.
I was just in front of a counter, and I was asked a question, and they said, "There's something wrong with your identity. There's something wrong with your identity. Just give me a few minutes." And that's it. And I sat there for a few minutes. For about 15 minutes, he came back and said, "Your identity is duplicated. And if my identity is duplicated, you've lived abroad as identity theft, duplication, which I would say must have originated from here."
Yeah, I do agree, and that is the much that Daniel Boala said. One of the PDP and Atiku spokespersons, he did say that if it has been a case of identity theft, then the Nigerian authorities cannot be unaware, and that's the most that Peter will be saying there. I actually do agree. I do agree, and I wonder why government agencies will allow themselves to be used by opponents and politicians to go that far. I think this is unacceptable. It's very, very shameful to say the least. And I think that the authorities ought to have investigated that, and it doesn't seem like they have done that, and they've been largely quiet. The Nigerian immigration, all the relevant agencies as it has to do with all of that, have not said anything. I don't want to believe that it would have been the same if it was probably Tinubu or maybe even President Buhari himself. I think that should have been investigated to see. Well, maybe they are probably waiting for Peter Obi to lodge an official complaint, but I wonder, does he have to do that? I don't know. Maybe he has plans, because he did say that the matter is for another day. I don't know if he has plans to probably take on the Nigerian authorities, as it has to do with getting them to explain how his identity was duplicated.
I'm glad you've clarified that point. But there's also another question being raised about whether you are a dual citizen. As you said, you lived in London for a long time. I mean, do you have dual nationality, either British, American, or elsewhere? Because I was reading somewhere that you were conferred with the honorary citizenship of Dallas, Texas in 2022.
Now, on this dual citizenship, I guess Charles Aniagolo is asking because of the Tinubu situation. Just when we thought that the Tinubu Guinean citizenship situation was not going to be anything, but it's seeming like it's becoming something really big. Atiku had gone to court to raise that issue, and that seemed to be bothering the APC now. And then we suddenly saw them also asking questions about Peter Obi and his citizenship. Peter Obi has spent some time abroad. I guess they probably thought they could get something out of that. So the question about Peter Obi's dual citizenship, also started to come up. You need to see how Peter Obi responded. It's another quintessential response by Peter Obi. Another response that will really excite all of the Obi supporters, the obedience. And again, he relates it to matters of integrity. He relates it to matters of transparency. He relates it to matters of openness.
Charles, you know what that means? It means nothing.
Yeah.
Even one of the presidential candidates said it that it means nothing. It just shows that, okay, well, if you come into this city, you're welcome. It doesn't even give you a visa. If you apply for a visa, it can't even help you for your visa application. It means nothing. Charles, I've never applied.
Right.
And I will never apply for citizenship of any other country.
Yeah, but
I'm a Nigerian.
Right. But
I believe in Nigeria. I lived in the UK for a period of about 12 years. I had a permanent stay.
So you were a permanent resident in the UK?
But I had indefinite stay,
Right. Okay.
which means I can stay there for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
But when I left the UK in 2025, I went back to them and said, take your stay. I'm no longer having, and I go to the UK with visa.
And also to clarify the fact that even if you were a permanent resident, that doesn't make you a citizen of that
Well,
country.
I'm just telling you that even that stay, I returned it.
Right.
I have never applied, and I will never, as long as I live.
Right.
My family knows this, everybody knows that. I was born in Nigeria. I'm a Nigerian. God created me a Nigerian. He would have made me an American, or a Japanese, or a British. But since he made it that I'm a Nigerian, I will want to live and die in Nigeria.
So before we get into the much that Asari Dokubo said that Mr. Charles Aniagolo is about to ask Peter Obi, I think the much that Peter Obi said is awesome. That Peter Obi, as widely traveled and as affluent as he is, doesn't have a dual citizenship. That is something huge. That is something to his credit. Like, he doesn't have a dual citizenship. All these years as a business person, traveling all around the world, that's awesome. That is really something to admire, That's something to really admire. I think it deserves another clap for that, another clap, another round of applause, So let's get into the much that Asari Dokubo said, and let's see how Peter Obi responded. In fact, that is actually what I referred to earlier on, the quintessential Peter Obi response and how he settled the issue that excites you. Just listen.
Nevertheless, Asari Dokubo, who is a well-known person from Rivers State, says he can prove that you are a citizen of the Solomon Islands, and that the conditions for buying property there is that you must be a citizen. What's your reaction? Do you own property there?
One, I don't know where is Solomon Island. I've never been such a place in my life.
Permit me, I have to just laugh because actually when I first saw this interview, I laughed at that, and in fact there's still more to you probably laugh about.
I don't know. I've never been there. I've no reason to go there. Few places I've gone in the Caribbean, places like Haiti. I was in Haiti when they had the earthquake. I was a governor then. Everybody who is close to me knows that I've been to most troubled places in the world. So when there was earthquake in Haiti, I went to President Jonathan. He's still there. I said, Mr. President, I'm going to Haiti. They had an earthquake. I want to go and help them to rebuild. He was even surprised. He said, Peter, why? I said, that's what I've done all my life. I've been to most troubled parts of the world. As I'm speaking to you, Mr. President, I've withdrawn my son from school. We're going there to Haiti.
Guys, that is awesome. Tell me that is not awesome. Another clap, another clap. I know the obedience are really, really excited about this right now. Many claps for Peter Obi. Another clap for Peter Obi. Another clap. You know, that is leadership. That is leadership. This is how it should be. Africa needs these kinds of leadership. We need these kinds of characters in leadership at the very, very top. You know, this is leadership, I must confess. It is. You know, it takes a bold heart. It takes a large heart. It takes a heart with lots of empathy to, you know, do all of that. And he usually does all of this with his money, you know, his hard-earned resources. And you see why many Nigerians, once they have Peter Obi, you see the frustration in how the elections went. And I'm not surprised, you know, this voter apathy that followed in Benin where I voted. I was sad to see how people did not turn up for the gubernatorial elections and state assembly elections. Why? Because people were largely frustrated. So you can see why a lot of Nigerians are rooting for this man.
And I went there. A high commissioner then will tell you. I even met some police officers from Nigeria who were there and they will tell you. I even traveled with some of the people who, Bob Manuel, who used to be one of the actors. He saw me and said, I'm going to this place to help them rebuild. And I helped them to raise money then, over $200,000. So I've been to Haiti and I've been to Barbados. So other than that, I can't remember. I don't know where Solomon Islands, Charles.
Right.
I've never been there. I don't own a property anywhere outside Nigeria except in the UK where I lived.
Yes.
Other than that, any other place that there's a property in the name of Peter Obi, it is fake. It doesn't exist. And I don't need it. Why would I own a property where I don't live?
Wow, another clap. The way he makes those categorical statements bordering on his integrity, like it's second to none. Like, I doubt if we can have any Nigerian politician, whether serving in public office now or before, who will have the courage to make these kinds of statements. It's difficult. Yeah, with all due respect to the politicians, I know they probably will be, 1, 2, 3 there, but it's rare. Come on, it's rare. And you see why people are saying this man must go to Aso Rock. It excites me how he makes those statements, especially when we're talking about Nigeria and we're largely dealing with issues of corruption and misappropriation and lack of integrity in public office. You can see why Peter Obi is now the golden boy. Well, anyhow, anywhere, the people of integrity are supposed to be golden. Integrity is golden. You want to have people who their yes is yes and their no is no. You want to have people, who will not see black and call it white and see white and call it black. You want to have people who would use leadership to affect their people positively, because the power is nothing after all if you can't use it to transform lives for the better. That's what leadership is about. That's what politics is about. You get power to effect change, positive change, to implement policies and programs that will influence the lives of your people for good.
Well, I'm glad you clarified that point, but I'm afraid there are other things that need clarification. The Minister of Information, Lai Mohammed, recently called for your arrest, accusing you of treason. Do you see any links between your activities lately and any treasonable offenses?
Yeah, we're getting there now. This is another issue that was really trending, and I've been itching for Peter Obi to address this treason allegation, which I think, as Peter Obi would say now, I think it was an overkill. I don't know what Lai Mohammed was thinking, the Minister of Information. I really don't know what he was thinking to have called for treason. It's crazy, for lack of a better word. I did a video on that, the much that Dati Baba Ahmed said, comparing it to the much that some top officers of the APC in the 2015 elections, even the current Vice President Yomi Osinbajo said. I compared all of that. I probably will put the link in the description section so you can watch the video comparing the much that he said and the much that others have said before now in the APC. And for Lai Mohammed to be calling for treason, I would say is truly rascality, as Peter Obi would say now, and gross abuse of power.
Do you see any links between your activities lately and any treasonable offenses?
Charles, is the height of rascality. height of rascality that it was even announced in Washington. I committed a treasonable offense, and I'm in Onitsha, and my minister went to announce it in Washington. This is what I'm talking about. We're not talking about wasting governance here. People don't want to understand.
This is where that will be becomes quintessential again. The way he reduces the whole treason allegation to nothing, he waters it down, and then he chides the Minister of Information. You just stay back and watch, and you see how he totally reduces the Minister of Information. I wonder how Lai Mohammed, the Minister of Information, will be feeling right now if he gets to see this interview. And somebody really needed to say this. Somebody had to say this. I think it is the height of abuse of power. It is rascality, executive rascality.
I committed a treasonable offense, and I'm in Onitsha, and my minister went to announce it in Washington. This is what I'm talking about. We're not talking about wasting governance here. People don't want to understand. The amount it costs Nigeria for him to go and announce that in Washington can fix, I can tell you, I've been in government, can build a block of 6 classrooms in a primary school.
Now, Peter Obi is being the comedian here. I guess he's almost, he's trying to hold back the laughter, Treason is serious. Don't just throw treason allegation like that, I can understand why, he's getting a bit, almost comical about it,
This is what I'm talking about. We're not talking about wasting governance here. People don't want to understand. The amount it costs Nigeria for him to go and announce that in Washington can fix, I can tell you, I've been in government, can build a block of 6 classrooms in a primary school. I'm sure if you go to his village, there's so many places where children don't even have desks or classrooms to go to school. And instead of using that money to go and do it, he used that money to go to Washington to announce of treason of somebody who is in Onitsha. He doesn't need to do that. It is rascality of the highest order. These are the reason why we want a new Nigeria where things will work the way it works in other climes. From there he went to London, announcing the same thing. Well, I'm in Nigeria. He should have come to see me or invite me and say this is the offense. How did we get here?
Truly, the very question to ask, how did we get here? How did we get here? Well, what really interests me about all of this is how Peter Obi has responded. I like the way he has watered down everything and really put the Minister of Information in his place, I would say, and and you see him saying that the much that was spent in going to the UK and the United States, Washington DC precisely, to announce that he's committed treason, that could have been put into building some classrooms and school buildings. And whereas the man you're accusing of treason is actually in Onitsha, Nigeria, and you are going to Washington DC and you're going to London to announce that somebody has committed treason. I think it serves the federal government and the Minister of Information right, and I think somebody needed to say this, and I'm actually very, very impressed how Peter Obi has addressed this. For me, this is humorous. It's humorous and it's worth laughing about. And treason is supposed to be a serious matter, but you don't just wake up and accuse people of treason because they belong to opposing political camp. We have to bring some integrity, we have to bring some dignity to all of the work that we do when it comes to public office. Peter Obi said a whole lot more. He addressed the Ole Soyinka situation, and I love the way he addressed that, but I will not be able to get into the other part of the conversation. I really don't want this video to be too long. I think we have to stop here. Maybe I'll have to do another video to look at other parts of the interview. You may want to go check it out. You may want to go check the Arise TV page or channel and get to see all of the interview. I know you enjoy it. So I know that you are anticipating, well, I don't know if you are, the May 29 handing over. Everybody's looking forward to the day, and well, let's see how it goes. But I'll urge you to keep believing in Nigeria, keep praying for Nigeria. I have reasons to believe that there may still be more intrigues to deal with. As I advised the other time, sit back, tighten your seatbelts, and expect some more intrigues. But I know that in all of this, Nigeria will come out stronger. This is my belief, this is my hope, and it should be yours too. Do remember to subscribe if you have not. It will be very unfair if you watch this video and then you are not subscribed to the channel. And please drop a comment, share your thoughts. It will be great to continue the engagement in the comment section. My Naija people, una do well.